Welcome into Game Changers. What a busy week it's been here in South Florida. The Panthers are just one win away from going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. We got a bunch of Dolphins news, some Heat rumors out there in the world. So why am I all alone? Well, I'm never alone. The guys are always very close. They're not very far. They're joining us remotely here today. Oh, look, Bo's already interrupting me. I haven't even gotten into the introduction. Goldie just flew back, just landed from New York in Madison Square Garden. So he just rushed to a computer as fast as he can. But Bo, why the heck aren't you here right now? Why aren't you in the studio?
I got some business to take care of today. I got a little party coming up.
What's your business?
I'm getting married.
Ooh,
I'm going to the chapel, like Bette Midler said. Going to the chapel, getting married. That's what I'm doing.
Are you serious? You're not here because you're getting married today?
Well, why? I can't do that. I can't get married and miss one show?
No,
Is that it?
I'm
I
happy.
can't do that?
I'm happy for you, but, a little heads up. Goldie, did you know he was getting married?
I knew something was in the works. I knew he had some things planned, but factually, actually, let me answer the question. No. Didn't know Bo. Bo knows marriage. That's one thing.
Well,
Bo
look,
knows.
I'm going to tell you what. I didn't tell you because I figured if I told you, and Goldie's going to understand this, I figured if I told you, I would have to invite you. In that price per plate, it's a little too high for you guys. I didn't want to invest that kind of money in you two guys.
Is that
a little too much.
Is that the shirt you're going to wear when you get married today? You're going to dress up a little?
No. I got me a hot-looking Tommy Bahama shirt that I'm wearing.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do.
Where's the
See, now, Mike, the real reason we weren't invited is because he figured we would have chipped in together and bought him like a new pair of AirPods for the present, and then he would have lost money on us. That's why.
Of course.
New
IFP.
It's always about the cash.
This wedding brought to you by Out to Pasture podcast. By the way, Bo, where's the honeymoon, and are we invited?
Well, we did the honeymoon last week. We went down to Ocean. It's not a typical wedding. So we did the pre-honeymoon last week. Some friends of us invited down to the Ocean Reef Club. If you've never been there, it's magnificent. So I got that for a freebie. So I figured let's have our honeymoon first, and then we'll do the wedding last. And then it'll be all over.
Okay, I mean, you just do what you want.
Goldie knows where I'm coming from.
It must be nice being Bo.
It's not bad.
I know where you're coming from, Bo. Bo, I know where you're coming from, okay? You're like the Panthers early in the third period. You start hitting, you just set the tone of this is how this thing is going to go, whether you like it or not. I love it, Bo. Good call.
That's right. That's the way it goes. That's it.
Well, Bo, but
I got to tell you the best thing about this wedding, the best thing about the whole thing is I'm marrying the best woman I've ever met in my life, a wonderful woman. And I'm going to be happy with her for the rest of my life, and hopefully she can tolerate me.
Well, Bo, I speak for everyone here in the building. Congratulations. Have an exciting day. But before we let you go, I'm going to make you work a little bit. I need a Panther. I need a Panther prediction. Are they going to wrap this up in 6 or 7?
I'll tell you what. The last few games, man, have been. You had 9 minutes left after they scored the goal. That may have been the most stressful 9 minutes I've had in a long time. But they came and they got it done. And like I've said all along, this Panther team, they're a third period team. So they may come back here. They may struggle first and second period. But when they come back and come into the third period, they're going to be holding that Eastern Conference banner and getting ready to strap up and try to get that big giant trophy, and they can drink it out and take it out everywhere they go. Stanley Cup is going to be coming to South Florida. I'm going to predict that right now.
All right, Bo. Thank you so much. Congratulations again, and you better be back at work next week. No excuses. No excuses.
All
right, Goldie, let's go.
Yes.
Let's go back to work, Goldie. Let's talk about the Panthers as Bo goes down the aisle and gets ready for his nuptials here. Goldie, the Panthers, they take Game 5 on the road up in Madison Square Garden. They just really started to wear, it looks like, on the Rangers in that game, but have they really worn them out now in this series? Is the kind of the tide starting to turn and the cream rising to the crop between these two teams?
Well, I've thought so right from the beginning, Mike. You and I have talked about it on our Hunt for the Cup pregame shows on the CBS Miami stream. Mm-hmm. The Panthers are deeper. The Panthers are tougher. Give the Rangers a ton of credit. They are hanging in. They are doing all they can led by their goaltender. I mean, these games that are 1-goal games, they'd be 2-3-goal wins for the Panthers, if not for Shesterkin. But as Bo said, the Panthers so far in the playoffs now, 16 games played, they have outscored their opponents 23-10 in the third period. They've dominated the Rangers. It's only allowed 2 third-period goals. Rangers did get the 2 in the overtime. But as these games go on, the Panthers they're such a mature team. They just stay the course. They don't change the way they play. The score doesn't affect them. They're very comfortable if they're tied or if they're down a goal. They just keep on coming, and they're just too much for everybody to handle. Now, Tampa couldn't hang with them. They were out in 5. Boston gave a little bit of a better push. They were out in 6. The Rangers, I think it's going to be over in 6 tomorrow night, but hey, they could win the game here. I thought before the series started it would be Panthers in 7. I still believe the Rangers aren't winning 2 in a row. The Panthers find a way to win one of these games, but I do believe they wrap it up at home because I'm not sure right now, Mike, because of the things that you said and the things we've talked about, if the Rangers really, truly, number 1, physically are up to the task, and number 2, deep down after last night's game, do they really believe that they can beat this team in a series? I don't think so.
Yeah, they have to beat them two times in a row, and that's going to be tough, especially with the way I thought Bobrovsky played last night. Now, Igor Shesterkin, for the majority of the series, may have looked like the better goalkeeper, but has that also turned? Have the tables turned in the goalkeeper department? Is Bob now the kind of guy leading the horse race here?
Well, I love the position Bob is in because, Mike, he's been, and I've thrown this out on social media in quotes, he's the other goalie. And he's been that since the beginning of the playoffs. Even you and I, all the talk about Vasilevsky, even though you were not afraid of him. All the talk about Jeremy Swayman after game 1 when Boston won. He had a .955 save percentage. What happened the rest of the series? A lot of 2-1 games. Sergei Bobrovsky just a little bit better. And now here in this series, you go back to game 4. Remember, the Rangers had the 1-0 lead at Amerant Bank Arena. The shot by Zibanejad on that power play, Bobrovsky just gets a piece with the shoulder off the crossbar. Otherwise, it's a 2-0 game. Who knows how that thing goes? And then I really thought in last night's game, under the radar and not quite at the quantity that Igor Shesterkin sees, Sergei Bobrovsky had to make some big saves. And a lot of the saves last night, he made them look easy because he was in perfect position, did not give up a lot of rebounds. So it's no taking away from Shesterkin. He's been incredible. Sergei Bobrovsky is not asked to do quite as much because the Panthers seemingly, Mike, have the puck the entire game most games. But I agree with you. Sergei has played terrific. 9 of his last 10 games, the only one was the bad game in game 3 against the Rangers. 9 of the last 10 games, he's allowed 2 goals or less. That's impressive.
Yeah, I thought, the Rangers had typically been the more opportunistic team in this series. I thought Bob did a good job of taking away some of those opportunities, even if there was a defensive lapse. And look, there wasn't much. They had 1 turnover last night, and it was Aaron Ekblad. And, Paul Maurice joked that he's out of there. No, but Ekblad's been playing great, and so has Bob. All right, Goldie, we've got a lot to get to still on this show. We're talking Dolphins, their contract extensions that they're handing out. Jalen Waddle got one. When is Tua going to get his? We're going to get to that next.
Game Changers is sponsored by your Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Shop your 7-passenger favorites at VWFlorida.com.
Welcome back to Game Changers. The Miami Dolphins making headlines, finally giving out that contract extension so many of us were looking for. Just kidding. It's actually not Tua Tagovailoa, their QB, getting a contract extension. No, it's one of his favorite targets, Jalen Waddle, who over the first 3 years of his career has eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark each season. And so he's very deserving of a contract extension for sure. Goldie, he's coming back from Madison Square Garden, New York, where he came back with a win. Waddle got a win this week, obviously a lot of money, $76 million in guaranteed cash. Goldie, too high or too low for Waddle? Let's play that game.
I think it's perfect. He's right there in the top 5, right around where Tyreek is. Tyreek, in effect, Mike, has 2 years left on his deal because, in 2026, I think it's due to get $45 million. That's probably not going to happen. And we'll see what kind of, he's in his 30s already at the time. So good on the Dolphins, They draft him. He has the best rookie season in Dolphin history. The next year, last year, he led the NFL in yards per catch. Last season, he was a little bit dinged up, but as you said, first Dolphin ever, 1,000 back-to-back-to-back. And you know what I love about Jalen Waddle, Mike? Tyreek Hill comes in. That position in general in the NFL, over the years, guys want the ball. There's a little bit about me in that wide receiver position. Jalen Waddle had none of that. Tyreek Hill came in. You never heard a complaint. You never heard a word from Jalen Waddle. He's a great team player. Everybody loves him, gets along with Tua. I think it's a perfect contract. And, the Dolphins had this in their plans. I know for a lot of fans, it was tough to see some of those guys leave, like the guys they drafted in Rob Hunt and Christian Wilkins. But you can't pay everybody $30 million a year, $20 million a year. And you're going to have to spend about $50 on the quarterback. So I think when you look at position of giving out $25 million a year, and it's nothing against Rob Hunt. He did a great job here as an offensive guard. I'd rather give it to a wide receiver than an interior offensive lineman.
Yeah, wide receivers score touchdowns. This is literally what I've been harping on for a long time, saying pay those guys. But look, you're right. In terms of not being able to pay everybody, the Dolphins didn't wait till this got to the final year of his deal or the end of that final year. They kind of got out ahead of it. And there's still a lot of big-time wide receivers that are going to get some big deals here in the NFL. So while Waddle is top 5 now, he may look like a discount once some of these other guys get deals because, the market is booming right now. And I like that you made the point that even alongside Tyreek Hill, his production really hasn't dropped. On the flip side, Tyreek Hill's production hasn't dropped either. In fact, he's had historic numbers next to Jalen Waddle, the first wide receiver ever to have back-to-back 1,700-plus yard seasons. But when you hear that, Goldie, Tyreek Hill, 2026, that's when his contract's up. Do you expect for him to kind of push for a new deal now that he's seeing the wide receiver market kind of explode?
Well, he's probably in that Jimmy Butler mode, right? A little bit older, has proven a lot. Now pay me. Look, I don't think the Dolphins, they've got him for 2 more years for sure. And then, like I said, in 26, it balloons up to $45 million. There's a chance that contract doesn't actually get fulfilled. He can push for it now. But if I'm the Dolphins, hey, I've already paid him. He's still playing great. Now, when does that drop-off come for him? You'd have to think in the next few years. It probably does. But, the danger in that, Mike, is the same thing in the danger in Tua. If you let Tua play it out this year, right, and then you can always franchise him the next year. But is he happy in that situation? Remember, and we all love Tyreek, and he's been a great Dolphin, productive, spark plug guy, a real leader. I didn't know this about him. Nobody works harder on the practice field. That's why I think it's great when he misses these mini camps, because otherwise he's going all out running, and you don't really need him to do that in April and May. You need him to do it in December and January. Do you have a problem with guys that are not happy if they don't extend, give Tua his deal? And if he wants a contract in Tyreek Hill, we're going to have to wait on seeing that. But I just think that's pure speculation. But we do have to remember this. That is the way the Dolphins got him from Kansas City. He wanted that new deal. He was pushing for it. He wasn't very happy, and the Chiefs ended up trading him.
Yeah, 40-plus, though, in the final year. I mean, he's an electric player, still one of the best wide receivers in the game. But that's certainly a little scary because it's basically middle-of-the-road quarterback money now that you're giving to a wide receiver. Not saying he doesn't deserve it, but that's a big, big number. Let's move over to the quarterback because Tua Tagovailoa coming into camp this year a little bit leaner. Last year we saw him put on some size, some muscle. Obviously, he went through the whole jiu-jitsu training. That's probably why he ends up playing 17 games. But do you like the idea of a leaner Tua? I don't think it really affects in terms of injuries, I don't think it affects that, but do you think it opens up his game to maybe be a little bit more mobile, something we haven't seen him be since he's come into the NFL?
Yeah, I thought he was more mobile earlier on, Mike, and last year, obviously, look, the whole thing was designed, get bigger, don't take hits, get rid of the football, and he rarely took any hits. I mean, the Dolphins for most of the season, it may have even ended that way, led the league in fewest times the quarterback got touched. Some of that was the offensive line. Some of that ball was coming out so quickly. So what I like is that Tua Tagovailoa does not rest on his laurels.
Right.
And he's evolving as a quarterback. Remember, this is only really, the third full year he's going into, as a starter. And the year a few years ago, remember, he didn't even play the whole season. So I think when you have an athlete like Tua who says, okay, let me take this off season now, I got 7 months. What worked? What maybe didn't work? How do I get better at the things that didn't work? I think that's great. And Mike McDaniel said he also seems to have a little more pop on the ball as well. So I do think that will help them out against the better defenses, Mike, in the big games that they did not win, a lot of times under pressure. There were some picks, there were some balls just thrown away. Maybe, like you said, Tua, a little bit lighter, a little bit more comfortable with, the injury stuff. Maybe he can get away and buy himself a little bit more time this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned a little more zip on the ball, because Mike McDaniel said, look, he's working with John Beck. Obviously, he's a former Dolphins quarterback, but someone who Mike McDaniel says he has a history with. So you kind of like the idea that all these guys know each other. There's probably a lot of communication going on, the contract stuff aside. Whatever Tua and John Beck may be working on, you got to believe, or at least I do, maybe Mike McDaniel has a little bit of input and say in what's going on there in terms of his work outside the facility. All right, Goldie, the Heat stuff doesn't stop. Jimmy Butler, is he leaving? Is he going back to Philly? Is he going to stay here with Miami and the Heat? And is Donovan Mitchell coming down here? We're going to get to that next. Welcome back to Game Changers. If you're just joining us, the reason why I'm alone in the studio is because Goldie literally just got back from Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Panthers and the Rangers. He came back with a 3-2 lead. He followed orders. But Bo's not here because he's getting married. And that's not a joke. That's actually happening right now during the show. So congrats to him. He also did the honeymoon before the wedding. What a thought. Good for him. Goldie, let's talk about the Miami Heat, because it's possible that the honeymoon between them and Jimmy Butler could be ending. There's a report out there from Philly that, if Jimmy wanted to come to the Sixers, maybe the Sixers would be willing to offer him the contract extension he's looking for. Goldie, we were wondering about Jimmy Butler and his future based on, would there be a market out there for him? It seems like there is. So now that it appears that someone would want Jimmy, should the Heat actually kick the tires on moving on from a guy who's taken them to the finals twice in his short tenure here at Miami?
Well, for sure they should look into it and kick the tires 100%. I mean, you kick the tires on everything. My feeling on it at his age, and it's not a knock on him as an overall player, but he's not getting any younger. He's banged up, can't play all the games or doesn't play all the games. To me, there's no way I give him a contract extension in his mid-30s. Now, he wants to play it out. You're still paying him, as a 10th, 11th highest paid player in the NBA.
Yeah.
But, if you go get a guy like Donovan Mitchell and use the money there, a younger guy, I think that's a possibility. But to me, I didn't think there'd be a big market for Jimmy Butler. I know you did. I'm not sure what they can get back for him. But 100% if I'm the Heat, if I could use the money elsewhere, I do kick the tires on it and see what I could get for Jimmy at this point. And by the way, the other thing is, Pat Riley's not very happy with him. He's not very happy that after they talked to his agent and him about playing more in the regular season, he didn't. That's part of the reason they were in the play-in in the first place. If he played maybe 8 or 10 more games, they might have been up to 4 or 5 seed in the conference. And the fact that Pat Riley's not a big fan of the outspokenness maybe on social media when you're not playing in the game.
Udonis Haslem was pretty outspoken on this topic. He was on ESPN saying, heck no, it's not going to happen. He's going to plant himself on County Line Road and not let Jimmy leave. I think the only problem, and I'm not a cap guy, but I think the only problem with the Philly thing, and maybe even Donovan Mitchell, is it's going to have to be a trade of some sort. If there was a 3-team trade there, the Sixers only have 2 guys under contract. So I'm not sure how they could, if they were supposedly going to facilitate a trade with Philly, I don't know how they do that. I think there has to be another team involved. But it is interesting because in the NBA, where there's smoke, there tends to be fire. Some of these things do leak out, and a lot of them come to fruition. That league in particular has a lot more drama in the offseason than sometimes it does in the regular season. All right, Goldie, still to come. We're talking Messi when we come back. He is quite the world traveler. Some of the mind-blowing numbers the Inter Miami star has been flying. That's coming up next. Welcome back to Game Changers. We know Goldie's been doing a little traveling here during the postseason, but we did want to show what Lionel Messi has been doing in 2024 with Inter Miami and all the soccer games he's been playing across the world. This just came out. More than 87,000 miles traveled for Lionel Messi in 2024. We're just getting to June. It's incredible. Taylor Swift, her Eras Tour, she's everywhere. 65,000 miles. The Kansas City Chiefs, we know they went to Germany with the Dolphins. They had a couple extra weeks of travel with the Super Bowl, just under 30,000. And our Steve Goldstein, who was playing, let's call it injured, last night, covering the Rangers-Panthers Game 5 with the sniffles because of his travel, less than 10,000. Goldie, no excuses. What's going on? I thought you were a little tougher than that. I didn't think 9,000 miles would almost put you on IL.
Well, mistake number one by you, thinking I'm tougher than that. Number two, I'm going to blame those airplanes. I think Messi and Taylor Swift, they're not back in like 20B like me. They're flying their own flight. So, but I'm here. I lined it up. I got it done, Cunio, and that's all that matters, and I'll be ready for tomorrow night.
You did. All I know is the CBS Miami budget looks a little thinner these days because apparently you've been flying private. We're going to fly out of here. Goldie, hey, good stuff with the Panthers. Glad you came back with a 3-2 lead. We'll see you tomorrow night at Amerant Bank Arena. And hopefully next week we're talking about the Stanley Cup Finals. Thanks for joining us here on Game Changers. And congrats, Bo.